Hey, welcome back to the shop. Yeah, we're back in the shop. My 30-day trip turned into only 20 days, but that's part of lessons learned. I learned a lot about myself, and that is that I still find myself wanting to be on a schedule. After being 40 years in aviation and always having to be somewhere on time, it's just inbred to my blood, I guess. It was hard for me to slow down and take a side road and go backwards. It was fun seeing friends and family. I should have stayed longer, possibly, with my father and my friends in Denver area for sure. I was invited to spend an additional night, but I just felt that pull to get back on the road. And it became kind of a limitation because I think I missed out on a lot. Beyond that, my physical limitations being the size that I am and having knee surgery and bad back and everything else, wasn't too bad. Getting in and out of the Jeep was a little bit tough, using the rear side door to get in and out of the bed, but the bed slide worked beautifully for me. It was really a good addition to have that, so especially in the morning when you can fold it up, slide a bed back, and put your feet down on the floorboard to get your shoes back on, it helped a lot. Some of the campsites I was at were public, and it would have been hard to get out of the Jeep and then get dressed, so it was nice to be able to get dressed in the Jeep. Other than that, I drove sometimes 10, 12 hours a day, no problem, fairly comfortable. The Jeep is a little underpowered, especially with the gear I had in it. And speaking of gear, I think I'll get into that next. Some of the things that worked out real well and some of the things that didn't. Pop-up shelter worked out. It was a little heavy, but it was easy access and it went up very fast. The drawer system worked out good, lots of space, room on top for 2 boxes to set inside there for securely. Bed platform just to the left that slid back and forth. The first 1/3 folded up, so we had room to move it. And when the drawers closed, I had access to a USB port and a small light. That also worked out very well. There I'm just taking out the modular system I had for all my cutting tools. They stayed up out of the way and gained access to my axe. There's what I used most, and the flashlight. So that worked out real good for me. And I installed it in such a way that it comes out easy. And my blacked out windows goes back to just being a daily driver. This organization in the seat worked out real good for everything electronics. If I did this again, I wouldn't have a seat, so that would have to change. And Jeep performed well for me. Here I'm just washing it and going over all the fluid levels and different things, making sure she's still in good shape. If you follow any other Overlander type videos, you'll see this piece of equipment come in their videos, and it's nothing more than a mini pesticide sprayer. You can pump it up so you have pressurized water, and then I just added one of my small plastic clips here so I can hold down the handle, and then I have both hands free to use it. This is great for water conservation because water is an asset when you get off-road and you have nothing around but your 5-gallon container in my case. So filling this up even with warm water or hot water to rinse dishes and stuff, wash your hands, and in some cases wash my shoes one time and wash the side of the Jeep where I was getting in and out of it so I wasn't tracking in mud and stuff across the threshold. Nice piece of equipment. This next piece of equipment is something I've had a long time, bought at a car show. It's made by Battery Tender, and it's just a solar panel that keeps batteries charged. It's got its own controller here, and you just plug it in with their extension cord to battery. And this was great because it kept my battery tuned up. That was great because it kept my battery charged up, and it was a secondary battery I had in the back that ran a USB cable to charge my phone and a light on the drawer, so I had some light at night for kitchen cooking and that kind of thing. But it was a nice addition. This next piece of equipment is not bad in any way, but I never used it, and that is just a simple fire grate I thought I would use on an open fire to have hamburgers or whatever. But I found out from talking with Joel at Simply Overlanding that he never had or rarely had an open fire, and that's because of the smell of the smoke stays with you when you go into bed, and you're not always close to a shower, So sure enough, the other reason I never used it was just too hot. It was just too hot to start a fire. So that never got used. Is that I had was this cooler, just a cheapy one. It's from Igloo. It's a fine cooler for, overnighter or something, but it didn't hold ice very well. And I bought it in part because of the size and the fact it doesn't have a drain. I didn't want to worry about the draining water into my bed while I was traveling. But it ended up kind of being a pain in the butt because when it comes time to draining the water, you have to dump the whole thing and you lose some of your food, in my case, and it's just a little inconvenient. So I'll upgrade that if I do this again. Why would you carry an empty box? But I had the room for it on the roof rack, so I strapped down an empty box. And it actually came in handy for reasons I wasn't planning on. And that is, whenever you do stop at friends and families' homes, they always want to give you something. So it was there were some things I was able to put up in the box and keep it out of the way until I got home. So I was glad I had. As I matured into the Jeep format, if you will, and worked out of it, after a couple of days, I found it was nice to be able to change things around and move some things out of the Jeep that I just didn't need every day and put them up in that box. So that was a nice option to have, space you can move into. So while I don't show it right here in front of me, it was just a box on the rack, empty at first, and it came back full. So that's just some highlights of the equipment. There's more to it, of course. I think beyond the equipment, though, I would try to pick a time frame that's cooler. Travel in the cooler months, especially important for sleeping in a vehicle like this. You can't run the air conditioner all night. Thank God I had that DC fan. I'd have never survived. So what happened is I found myself driving later into the night, trying to wait until the temperatures cooled off so I could sleep. But the problem with that is the days became very long. It was hard to cook or even get motivated to cook that late at night, so I tend just to go to bed without having a hot meal, which doesn't really hurt me much. But the other point to make would be having just a stock vehicle, or in my case a stock Jeep. It did limit me to staying pretty much on just trails, improved trails, and blacktop, of course. There was a few times when I had opportunities to go on off-road trails, but just wasn't the case for this Jeep, especially the way it was loaded. Just too heavy for the stock suspension. The COVID-19 pandemic, as they call it, made it hard to find campsites. RV parks don't allow you because you're not self-contained, but there's a lot of families out there camping now because they have nothing else to do. So I heard RV sales are up and campsites got real full. So that was a little bit difficult at times to find some place to sleep. And in my case, because I did drive later into the night, it would have been nice to have prepackaged meals such as MREs, Mountain House. In fact, that one Mountain House meal that I showed you camping there at Flagstaff was actually very good. I guess that's it, guys. I've had a lot of requests for a video on this Harley, and I guess I really haven't done one, come to think of it. So maybe that'll come up next, another video. But until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video, whatever that may be.